Big deal. That's always went with the territory. I'll see you in Disneyland.
My defense, because I am such a part of it. I mean, I obviously I'm going to bear the consequences, so why not bear the responsibility?
Okay, sir, is she still alive?
You alive?
When was the last time you saw her?
Mama, I killed Dean.
Brian?
Ma'am?
What are you doing?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another week.
Welcome back. Today is Sunday, October 6th, 2024.
It's official.
It's official. It's our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah, we're going on 2-year anniversary, third season. Start of third season.
Yeah, I can't believe that we made it this far. So
We're still going.
I know.
And if anybody hasn't noticed,
We have a whole new studio.
we do.
We moved everything. We did it today, actually.
We
So,
did. That's why we look so good.
Yeah, this is
You
why
know.
we're dressed.
Swabba looks so
Yeah,
fancy.
why we're so dressed up for
Yeah.
the occasion. But we wanted to record on our anniversary. And so just a couple things before we actually get started. Dan from Reform Radio. Well, first of all, I want to thank a few people because it wouldn't be without a few people that we'd actually be here.
For our anniversary. I know.
Dan being one of them
Oh.
from Reform Radio.
Huge.
And
One
Ted.
of the main reasons.
Yeah.
Between those two, I think that's
Yeah.
the whole reason why we actually
are able to do this, because I don't think there's any way on this earth that we would have technically been able to figure everything out.
and just because of the support in the, I don't know, I just feel like Dan was such a raw, keep going, girls.
Yeah.
It's good. It'll get better.
Yeah,
You guys are fine.
He's our cheerleader. Still to this day.
And then my dad too, because my dad's always like, every time we don't record a week, he's like, "What's going on? How come aren't you guys recording weekly?" I'm like, "Oh, well,
and
we
he
took a break this week."
You know, he did all of our graphics, all of our,
Logos.
everything. And
Designs.
so it just all came, once we decided to do this, it just all came together so quickly. And obviously we want to thank our families for intruding on my house, her house,
Putting up with us.
This takes a lot of time. Not so much now, but in the beginning, it probably took us 3 days to record one episode.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. In 7 hours a day.
It took us about 3 weeks just to do our intro.
Yeah.
We couldn't even get that straight.
It was ridiculous.
We did not know how to talk into a microphone.
Yeah,
or set anything up.
And
So
like we've said on many episodes, after you do something like this, you have a whole newfound respect for YouTubers, for people that are on radio, for anybody that does anything, even podcasting. Even if you're not on video, even if you're just podcasting, it's not easy to just sit and talk into a microphone.
I would think that would be even harder because at least we have okay, people are going to watch us.
It's easier too when there's two people, because we can talk to each other. And if I have a brain fart or I forget something, obviously you're going to be there to pick it up, and vice versa. But it's not easy.
And normally it's just me and Gina in the studio. But for season 3, we have
a person running our board now.
I know, flipping back and forth.
Yeah.
So it's my son, Nathan.
He'll have a camera here pretty soon. He doesn't want to be on camera just yet, but we're going to get him there.
Eventually. But, okay, so I was telling Gina, we have Handsome Harry. It's really, what is it? Good Looking Dave.
It's Heartthrob.
Heartthrob.
From Reform Radio.
From Reform Radio. We have Dickless from Reform Radio. Yeah. Anybody who sits behind the keyboard has a nickname.
Yeah. So we have to think of one for Nathan.
We got to think of one for Nathan. So maybe
anybody that has any ideas.
Exactly. Yeah. If anybody can come up with any nicknames for Nathan, then, for our soundboard and our video. So
yeah, we're here for
perfect.
it.
Yeah. We'll run it by him and see what he thinks.
Right? Yeah.
So
we have this lovely decor that we just, pulled from Shannon's collection. Thank God it's Halloween because, all this stuff was out. But
this is up
this
year
is
round.
always
though.
out.
Yeah, she is up year round. She is. That's Annabelle. If in case anybody doesn't recognize her, and my mom made the doll, and my husband and I created the case. So there she is, and there she sits
in all her glory.
Yeah, she will be there.
Oh yeah, and this. Okay, so these bats up here have quite a big significance. So on our first,
if they've been following us,
they've
for
been
a while,
following
they'll know.
us since Wyoming. Oh, if the people have been following us,
yeah.
I don't even know if we talked about them, but anyway, when we went to Wyoming, which was our first season, we bought these bats at Frontier State Prison that we toured, and we did an overnight paranormal stay with Paranormal Peeps. They were lovely people, and they invited us to do an overnight stay at the prison, and we bought them. So I have had mine, as you can tell. This is Batshit Betty, and she's quite faded because I take her everywhere. She's in my car with me, everything.
She's been in the car.
Shannon's on the other hand.
Beezus has been taken care of.
Beezus has been boxed for the last 2 years.
She's been sitting in this room.
Beezus has not come out of hiding.
Savannah had Beezus for a little while, and then Beezus has been hanging out in this room.
Yeah.
So
that's Beezus and that's Batshit Betty.
Yeah.
So they're
we know who's had a rougher life.
Yeah, clearly.
But and I just thank everybody out there who's been supporting us and who's been so positive. And
Patreon.
Yeah. Oh, who's been with us since day one.
Yes.
I mean.
And all the people who subscribe on YouTube, all the people who subscribe on all podcast platforms, everybody that comments, that just everybody. We've had so much help. People that have bought merch. People I can't believe in 2 years, the stuff that we've accomplished, getting our merch, and again, we wouldn't have been able to do that without your dad, because he created, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, copyright stuff. You can't use this picture. You can't use that picture. So everything had to be created from scratch.
Yeah.
And so thankfully he is in that business. And so he was able to do that in a day.
Yeah. We tell him we want to change the colors. He's like, okay, 1 hour later, here you go. And we're like, okay.
So we wanted to change things up a little bit, our logo. And I was thinking maybe going red. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We're still kind of playing around with things.
You'll see it when Thursday pops up.
Yeah, we'll get there. But so anyway, this is actually our anniversary. So we wanted to record. This won't come out until Thursday, but we actually wanted to record because Dan from Radio sent us something that he told me I could not open until today, and he wanted us to open it on air. So
we have I don't know
no
what
idea
it
what it is. He emailed this to me, and honest to God, he texted it to me and he emailed it to me, and I have not opened it. It's taken everything out of me in the last few days to not open it. But hand to God, I have not opened it.
I'm really excited because the last time he sent us something came the gem, Gina and Shannon.
Yeah, our
lovely
song.
little theme song. So I'm really excited about this
everybody absolutely loves, and they're like, you need to use that as your,
We'll figure it out.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what this is, and if it's a gem like the other one, which I'm assuming, I don't even know. It could be him singing for all I know.
Oh, but that would be even better. Are you kidding me?
No,
are you kidding me? That would be.
I don't even
better.
know what this is. So
do you want me to?
So
here we go.
We're gonna
okay, we're gonna open it together then.
Oh my.
Hello, ladies. This is your friend Dan. I just wanted to send you guys a message.
He's gonna make me cry.
Since it is your 2-year anniversary, and just tell you once again how incredibly proud of you guys I am, and that I'm sure all of your friends are. I remember hearing about the inception of this show, the idea that you guys were going to do this together, and having a pretty good hunch that it was going to be funny and great. And you two are truly one of a kind, two of a kind. I don't even know how you say it, but you are two very wonderful, very special people very, very good human beings, and it has been so awesome watching you guys have the success that you're having so much fun, having experiences, getting to know each other even better than you already do, and getting Gina on a goddamn airplane. I mean, this is amazing. Happy anniversary. I love you guys. Keep it going. And 50 States of Madness forever. That's it. Congratulations.
Daniel Cleary.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't either.
I thought he wrote us another song. Oh my God.
I thought it was going to be like a love song of
I
some
didn't know he was going to make me cry.
I thought it was going to be like a love song of some
Oh
sort.
my God.
Oh, that was really sweet. I love that.
Oh.
That's okay. That's what we were talking about. Like we
That right
couldn't
there.
have done it.
Yeah,
Like it's
that's-
already obvious. Like
Because that guy knows how much blood, sweat, and tears went into trying, to get this thing together 2 years ago. We really struggled.
yeah,
We really struggled. So,
and we leaned on them a lot,
Yeah.
and we still do. I
Yeah.
mean, it's obvious. Like you'll see our collaborations with Rare Form Radio.
Yeah.
We just love hanging out with them, and we just went to go visit Heidi in Wisconsin. To see her mom, and
we met
we
Heidi's
had
mom.
a ton of fun over there and stuff. So I just really love
Yeah.
hanging out with them and stuff, and we feel the highs and lows with them, like with the thing with Jane's addiction, and the people that are affected by that. So I just feel,
Yeah, it's
So-
we're just kind of all one big family, and it really affects everybody when something horrible like that happens. So if you have not caught episode 313 of Rare Form Radio, they Dan and Todd, who Todd is like probably one of my favorite people on this earth. you know? And so they break together, they break everything down that happened, and they go through everything and explain everything. So if you haven't caught that episode, definitely make sure that you do that. And we are so happy for Rare Form Radio because
congratulations.
They have definitely blown up, and
I can't believe they didn't blow up before. Like it's just so much history in music. They talk about music. He's
Everything.
got a lot of connections. A lot of people go on there that are behind the scenes. So if you're huge in the music scene and knowing what happens and what goes on, they're there in the trenches. They're working the concerts and they talk about it. So
and Heidi used to be in a punk rock band like back in the day, and she knows a lot of people and has had some super cool experiences with a lot of people.
they've had really cool guests on there.
They really, really do. He gets some really cool people. So yeah, we're just as proud of you guys as you are of us. I promise.
Oh,
you.
yeah, if not more.
Yeah.
Like it just
Yes.
No, for real.
So today we are going to, I'm going to read off my phone because we have a lot of technical stuff that still isn't,
up and running for us yet.
running. So today we're going to do a story about, I don't even know what to call her because, as you'll find out in this story, the name that she went by was technically not her name given at birth. And this was when we did our live from Milwaukee. We had asked the people that were on live if they had any stories that they wanted us to talk about and cover. And I believe her name was Pressy.
Pressy, yes.
She sent us a list.
It's pretty awesome.
When I say list, like it's like an entire list of different cases that she wanted us to cover. And so I kind of went through them and I found that this was a very interesting story. So I did some research on it, and I told Shannon, I said, I liked this story because I'm not farting, by the way.
It's the seat.
We're on leather seats. I'm just adjusting myself, and I have shorts on. So, sorry.
Okay.
Trust me, when I fart, you'll know it. Okay.
We cleared the room.
Yeah, you'll see them run out
It's an
or pass
evacuation.
out.
One or the other.
But I told Shannon when I was talking to her about it, I said I felt like there was no. What did I say? There was no resolution to it.
Yeah.
But as we get into the story, you'll see what I mean. So Lori Erica Ruff was born actually Kimberly Maria McLean to her parents James and Deanne McLean in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on October 16th, 1968. Her parents divorced and her mother Deanne got custody of her and her sister. Her mom remarried and they moved to a new city, which had a huge impact on her. Because of this, her relationship with her mom and her stepfather was strained. So basically, when her parents got divorced and her mom remarried, her stepfather, there was a lot of drinking, alcoholism. I don't think anything physically happened, but I just think that it was just not a life that she was used to. And she just didn't do well with it. So in 1986, when Kimberly turned 18, she decided to up and move to King of Prussia and completely cut ties with her family. In 1988, Kimberly obtained the birth certificate of somebody named Becky Sue Turner. And Becky Sue Turner was a 2-year-old girl who died in a house fire along with her 2 siblings in Fife, Washington in 1971. Kimberly obtained Becky Sue's birth certificate in Bakersfield, California, which is where she was born. Because Becky Sue was born in California and died in Washington, it lessened the chances that Kimberly would get caught for stealing her identity. So I guess there's a difference when you're born and die in a different state.
I think pre 9/11, it was a lot easier to take other people's identity, and there wasn't a huge tracking system.
Yeah, now
but I
good
think
luck.
post 9/11, it's almost impossible to do this. But right now,
Yeah, I mean, now you can't do anything.
Yeah.
But they can anybody can steal your identity and rack up your credit card.
Oh yeah, online.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do it here in America, but in all the other countries, they can just
They're going
snatch
at
it from you and
going at it. So on June 16th, 1988, Kimberly went to Idaho, where she got a state ID with the name Becky Sue Turner. This name didn't last long, though. On July 5th, 1988, in Dallas, Texas, she went before a judge and legally changed her name to Lori Erica Kennedy.
And I just want to say, to me, it's hard to, you're living with a name. How can you adjust to another name and then switch the name again?
Well,
it takes a lot.
You think that, even when you're, say, at the mall or at the grocery store, and I don't have a very common name, but for people that have a real common name, like a Jennifer or a Michelle or something like that, right?
Yeah.
If somebody, even if you're trying not to go by that name, if you've gone by that name the majority of your life and somebody's like, Michelle, you just automatically turn, somebody could say mom in the market and I'm like, yeah. And my kids aren't even with me. You know what I mean? So yeah, it would be hard to all of a sudden be like, oh, you're not Shannon anymore, you're Lori.
Lori, yeah, and I wouldn't respond to Lori.
And if somebody were to be like, Shannon, you turn around.
Yeah, if they say Lori, I still be walking.
Exactly.
Half the time I don't even respond to my own name, to be honest with you. But the kids are always like, Mom, Shannon, Mrs. Romo.
My daughter calls me Gina a lot.
So to get our attention.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to say, I know how easy it is because my mom got remarried when I was in 6th grade. And so they just went down to the school and just signed me up as my stepdad's last name. He never adopted me or anything. They just signed me up in school as Shannon Lindbergh. So I was Shannon Lindbergh going to school from 6th grade to 10th grade.
With documentation.
Nothing. I hadn't, they didn't change my social security. I didn't change, but I was working as Shannon Lindbergh. I was going to school as Shannon Lindbergh, and nobody questioned it. They just said, okay, my documents didn't match the name I was going by,
but you're right, though. I think before 9/11, it wasn't.
Yeah, you just, a parent can walk in and say, I got married, so my kids are all going by this last name. And the school was like, okay, what last name do you want to put them down as? Okay, Shannon Lindbergh.
You're right.
And then when I went into 11th grade, they had gotten divorced, so I went back to Shannon Burkhart. Can I be saying my real name? Just track me down.
And now
she's Shannon Romo. Now you know
Anything else you want to know about
Thank
her?
you. My social security number.
She'll put it down in the show description.
It'll be
okay?
thank you.
Just in case anybody wants to assume her identity. She lives a really cool life, you know.
But it's so bizarre
No,
that
it's true though.
Yeah,
It's
and I
absolutely
have
true.
middle school friends that only knew me as Shannon Lindbergh. Like I think that's why half the Facebook friends don't even
Know who you
didn't
are,
even know
yeah.
to friend me because
Of your name.
who's Shannon Burkhart / Romo. Like I
Yeah.
think when I first started getting Facebook, I put Lindbergh in there just so that some of those friends can find me.
Right.
'Cause they have no clue who I am. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So yeah.
So she changed her birth date for some reason to July 18th, 1969, which was like a year and something different. And
She made herself older or younger?
older.
Wow.
And then she got a driver's license and a social security card in her new name, removing all traces of her actual identity.
See how easy it is? Social
well-
security card in your new name.
So-
She went in front of a judge though.
She did, but
Okay.
here's the thing. So I got, now I'm going to tell you my story. No, I'm just kidding. I got divorced in like 20 something years ago. I immediately went to the DMV and I got my driver's license back to my maiden name. But they didn't ask me for anything. I was just like, oh, I got divorced. I'm going back to my maiden name. Done deal. 6 weeks later, I had a new ID. Then,
Pre 9/11 or
yes.
okay.
Yes. But I never changed my social security card. So technically, without changing your social security card, your name's really not changed because I couldn't change like through payroll at my work. I couldn't change my health insurance. So a lot of things said my married last name. I had like two identities basically.
It was really hard. I didn't know what her married last name and her maiden name were because I just knew both of them, but I didn't know which was which. I finally had to ask her, like, which one's actually your maiden name?
So then I finally just went 20 something years later. I just went a year ago and got a new social security card.
Just recently?
Yes.
Oh, I thought this was going to be the story where you found out, 10 years after later that you
no,
weren't divorced.
You know what? I'm lying. I actually wasn't divorced 20 something years ago.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, there was when I filed for divorce, I went to a paralegal. There was a hang up. Something happened. I assumed I was divorced. I got a letter in the mail 10 years later saying from the court that my case was going to be dropped because there had been no activity on it. And I was like, I don't have an open court case. What are they talking about? And then I looked and it was from the family court. And so hardest phone call you'll ever have to make is to call what you thought was your ex-husband and say, hey, we're still married.
Yeah, and he was in the process of getting remarried. So you think her phone call to him was hard? Imagine the phone call he had to make. Excuse me.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to put this wedding on hold because I'm still married.
Because I'm still married.
Yeah.
So, and if anybody's been divorced out there, you know that it takes 6 months and 1 day to get divorced. So it's not
minimum.
Yeah. It's not like you can just get an attorney and go, like, we had to go to court. It was long.
Yeah.
So anyway, now that you know all of our sob stories, we'll go back to talking
continue.
about Lori. So she moved around Texas for a bit, and in 2003 was living in Carrollton where she met John Blakely Ruff at a Bible study. He went by Blake. So Blake's family was very prominent in East Texas. Always in Texas, right?
It all leads back to Texas.
So Lori told Blake that she had a very terrible upbringing and also that she was an only child. And she was very, I guess, kind of secretive about anything about her past. All she basically told him is that her parents were both dead, which was not true. And that she just never wanted to talk about her past. And I think that a lot of podcasts that I listened to said that they felt like he was maybe on the autism spectrum.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like 1 in 3 people are.
No comment. So in 2004, the couple eloped and moved to Leonard, Texas. So when they were going to get married, Blake, his mom was going to do like, you know, an engagement party and all this and that. And Lori said, absolutely not, cut it off. And that's why they went to go get married on their own. And that's why they eloped, is because obviously she didn't want anybody to know anything about anything. So
yeah,
because
I guess if you do, I mean, back in those days, a lot of times they did announcements about them, especially in Texas.
They
you know,
would put it in the paper.
Yeah, the paper.
She didn't want any of that. So as soon as his mom started to do that, then she said no. And she also told him that she was born and raised in Arizona. So they eloped and they moved. They decided to try to start a family. However, they had a hard time getting pregnant and went on to suffer several miscarriages. In 2008, the couple decided to try in vitro fertilization, and Lori got pregnant, and they had a daughter who they named Jessica Emily Ruff. Once the baby was born, Lori became very protective of Jessica. She didn't want anyone to hold the baby and would even take her to the bathroom with her. So, yeah, which is, I feel like maybe signs of postpartum. I don't know. Yeah. But just very, very different behavior. So this continued to get worse until Lori refused to let Blake's parents around their daughter. So could you imagine having a baby and not letting, you know, and I think of it the other way now, like, because my kids are of age to, like, you know, be having kids. And could you imagine their spouse being like, oh, sorry, your mom's not going to see the baby. Sorry, I don't. Yeah.
No comment.
I mean, she would probably be happy.
No, I was gonna.
She doesn't want grandkids.
Well, yeah, I don't want grandkids, but that's, you know, we went through something similar. So you kind of, of that with my parents. So,
interesting. Okay.
So,
yeah, I feel like it would be very hard.
Yeah. I think it does have something to do with, because it's funny how certain, like, you know somebody prior to them having kids.
Yeah.
Part of the family, very, you know, part of it, very into the family, like, you know, a lot of that. And then after they have kids, something changes where all of a sudden, you know, they don't want the children around it. And I know that my parents went through that with not me, with,
of course, who wouldn't want Shannon around? Come on.
And not me not letting my kids around. I'm like, anybody want to help? I'm sorry. Do you want to help? Here's some kids.
Well, I mean, we all know that's how I was. We know that my daughter spent the majority of her childhood at Shannon's house. So
yeah, I just feel like, you know, you'd want as much help as possible, but sometimes, and I do think it does have something to do with some type of mental.
Yeah. I mean, that's
illness.
That's why I figured, like, you know, that's the first thing that came to my mind when I was reading about this, is this has to be like hormonal maybe, or, you know, I don't know. So while his parents encouraged him to leave the marriage, the couple decided to go to therapy. Unfortunately, this didn't help, and Blake left Lori and Jessica and moved back with his parents. Lori's behavior began to get very erratic. Her and her daughter were very malnourished, and she was often seen talking to herself in her driveway while pacing back and forth. And this is by neighbors. Like, her neighbors had seen her doing this.
This reminds me a little bit of schizophrenia as well. For some reason, it's like giving me some.
Yeah, I mean, it's just everything screams mental illness of some sort.
Yeah.
Like malnourishment, like not only not feeding yourself, but not feeding your baby too.
Yeah.
So definitely there was something going on.
And back then, people weren't really aware of.
No,
this
it wasn't
about getting
about.
help,
and it wasn't talked about. Like,
so,
we talked about Andrea Yates.
Yeah,
that's a huge one that we did a story on her, a while back. But it's a pretty popular story that most people know of.
Yeah.
So then Lori starts to send harassing emails to Blake's family, and until they eventually filed a cease and desist order. So it sounded like the letter or the emails got pretty ugly. So on Christmas Eve 2010, Lori drove to the Ruff's home and shot herself in the head in their driveway in her car.
That is shocking because a lot, and I mean, if it had to be some type of scenario, I guess this is the best one because a lot of times they take other family members or they take the children and they harm them. We just did a story where they ended up, I just saw a story about where they ended up killing the children, and not
right.
So, and you don't want something like this to happen. You want somebody to get help, but best, you hear these really horrible stories.
That was her intention. They think that her intention was to
harm the baby?
To harm the baby and the husband and his parents.
But she ended up
killing
just
herself
taking
in the
her
driveway.
own life.
Yeah. So found
That's so
inside
sad.
her car were 2 suicide notes. One addressed to my wonderful husband and the other one to their daughter Jessica, who was not to be opened until her 18th birthday. Now, could you imagine being 18 years old and somebody presenting you with this letter from your mother who had, killed herself?
I don't think I would have waited that long. I think I would have shared it with her as soon as she could understand what happened.
The family does. So the family, Blake and his family, they read the letter and it just basically contained ramblings from a very disturbed person. The authorities also believe that Lori went to the Ruffs' home that day with the intention of killing them all. So after Lori's death, Blake and his family went to her home to see if there was anything that could help them to make sense of all this. They found in her house a complete, absolute mess. They said her entire house was in shambles. There was dirty laundry, dishes, trash throughout the entire home. They found shredded papers with incoherent scribblings on them. Inside of a closet, they found a lockbox. After prying it open, they discovered papers that would eventually explain some things about Lori's past. They also found a paper with random things scribbled on it like North Hollywood Police, 402 months, and Ben Perkins, who was a Los Angeles attorney. And once they connected with him, he said he had no idea who she was. He has no connection to her whatsoever. They didn't know. But these were just the kind of odd things that were written on this paper. So they also found the birth certificate of Becky Sue Turner, which was the 2-year-old whose name she had taken early on, and a judge's ruling granting her name change to Lori Erica Kennedy. So in 2011, Joe Velling, who is an investigator for the Social Security Administration who specializes in solving identity theft cases, started to help the family. After hitting a dead end, he asked for help from the general public by placing an article in the Seattle Times on June 22nd, 2013. The article was then republished in numerous papers all around the world. So he was just like, help.
Yeah, who is she?
Help us figure this out, please. So in 2013, the same year, a woman named Colleen Fitzpatrick, who worked in forensic genealogy, started to work on this case. Fitzpatrick began using DNA samples from a sample taken from Ruff's daughter to construct a family tree, eventually tracing Ruff to a family in Pennsylvania whose 17-year-old daughter had disappeared in 1986, which was her. A DNA test confirmed that Lori Ruff was that missing daughter. Fitzpatrick shared her results with Velling, who approached the Pennsylvania family. From photos of Lori Ruff, the family positively identified her as Kimberly McLean, who had disappeared and cut off contact 30 years earlier after her mom remarried and she didn't get along with her stepfather. So I feel like that's, I guess there's an ending, but there's not an ending because still to this day, there's no, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. Like, why did she do this? Because I had told Shannon, I feel like I said earlier, I think that a lot of this was maybe postpartum. But then when you think back, she changed her name long before she ever got pregnant.
Yeah, this happened, all this was
before she met him.
Started, yeah. Prior.
Immediately at 18 after she moved.
But that's where some part of me thinks like there was some type of mental illness, like some form of schizophrenia or something.
And then maybe like having a baby kind of like
exacerbated it, like a lot of...
it did what? Exacerbated? Did you get that one?
Write it down. How do you say it?
Exacerbated.
Exacerbated. It. I think because, it just kind of triggered. I know a lot of times like high stress, things like that trigger certain
so maybe
illnesses.
It did something, and I don't know, but we'll never know.
No,
unfortunately.
Yeah, that sucks.
So,
and it sucks for the family who lost her 30 years ago and kind of held out hope that maybe one day they'd be reunited, and that's how it gets figured out.
Yeah, and I tried to research a little bit about where her daughter Jessica is now, and I really couldn't find anything. I couldn't even find a picture of her.
I wonder if they just changed her name as well.
I mean, could you imagine? Like, nobody wants to take that with them, and so
that's really sad.
Yeah, so it's a really sad story.
Thanks a lot.
We appreciate
on our anniversary.
I know. Well, we don't really tell a lot of happy stories.
But
I did want to talk about that. We just went a couple of nights ago to go see Annie Elise.
Yes, we did.
If you guys subscribe to her podcast, Serialously, and then she has 10 to Life on YouTube. And she was playing here locally. She did a live show.
It was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. And so Shannon and I got tickets to go. And then while we were leaving the show, we were
the best
walking.
part of the night.
I know. It's so crazy how, some things just you're at the right place at the right time.
It's insane.
And so Shannon and I had bought a while back. It's been a while back. We had bought some merch from Annie Elise, and it said it's a hot pink sweatshirt, and it says True Crime Barbie. And so as we're walking down the street back to our car, this woman is walking down the sidewalk. And she was like, "Oh, your sweatshirts." And we're like, "Oh, thanks. We bought them from her website."
And she's like, "I got canceled for that." Yeah. And we're like, "Got canceled?" She's like, "Yeah, I got canceled at a convention, true crime convention. Have you been to this?" She mentioned the name of the convention. I don't remember.
I don't remember what it was either.
But I got canceled there for having something because Mattel owns the rights to Barbie. And so I got canceled. But it is a huge story. She's like, I told somebody to F off, things like that. She's kind of going into it. But we're like, "Oh, you have a podcast."
I think I asked her, "Oh, do you have a podcast?" And because I figured, if Mattel caught wind of it, you got to be somebody.
Yeah. So she's like, "You have a podcast?" She's like, "Well, yeah, I kind of did a podcast, but I co-wrote or I helped on the podcast Dear John." Mm-hmm. No, Dirty John. I keep saying Dear John. That's a love story, by the way.
That's right.
Dirty John.
50 Shades of Madness, 50 States of Madness. Maybe that'll be our new name with our new look for
new season.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's like, and so I turned to Gina because I recognize it, but I know Gina, she's got stories up in here where she can tell you the whole thing, like, "Oh yeah, that was in 2018 and 2016. This is what happened." But
that was a really.
I saw her eyes get big, and I knew that my eyes would have to get big too. I'm like, wait a second. Gina's eyes are getting big. Okay, what's going on here? And
my spidey senses.
It says she did. She got her fillers out. She's like, wait, and I saw her look like, wait a second. You helped on Dirty John. She's like, "Well, yeah, And it turns out the story about Dirty John, she's actually the daughter that the story's about. Yeah. Not the actress.
No, this was her.
The girl, the
actual victim
who took down her mom's stalker and her
ex-husband
and killed him. Mm-hmm. Badass.
Yeah.
Anything that anybody ever wanted to do if you were being stalked or you were vengeance, badass.
She did. She knew what to do in the event of after talking to her, I feel like we should go take a self-defense class or something.
It would be smart
because the stuff that this woman knew to do as she was being stabbed, he stabbed her. I'm sure many of you, there was TV shows done. There was a huge podcast.
Look it up.
Called Dirty John.
Yeah. Her name is Tara Newell.
Yeah, and she's the sweetest thing ever. You would never know
cutest.
by looking at her.
Sweetest.
But she knew exactly what to do and how to do it, and the way that her brain processed. She had a dog with her. She always has her dog with her, which of course made me adore her even more. But she had a dog with her, and so when this, I don't even want to say man, when this guy was, he had a knife inside of a Del Taco bag, and so when he was stabbing her, I think he threw the Del Taco bag, and after he had stabbed her, she took the knife and stabbed him, but then immediately saw her dog eating whatever food was in this Del Taco bag. And her mind immediately went to, there was a bunch of people there that were asking, like, what can we do to help you? And she said, please get my dog away, because her mind went to, he probably has poison in there and he's going to poison my dog, because he knows that I take my dog everywhere with me. Because remember, this guy was married to her mom.
Yeah.
So he knows, her ins and outs and whatever. She always has her dog with her. And so to be able to think, well, not only you just stabbed somebody, but you're stabbed yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're injured yourself. I can't even imagine. And then to just, she just, her story, like, she's so inspirational. Like,
yeah,
she really, really
you need
is.
to check her out.
And now we asked her to come on the podcast, and she said that, she's going to come on the podcast. She does not want to tell her story anymore, which is absolutely understandable.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine with us. I'd be willing to talk about any case. She says, I'm willing to talk about any case, anything with you guys.
Yeah.
Just not her story, which we respect that.
Of course.
Yeah.
And she's doing some really big things for victims now, and helping them to, get the help that they need and everything. So hopefully we can get her on very soon, because she's very close to us. So
just some of the exciting things that are coming up in season 3. So, please, if you like this, please subscribe. I know that we talked a lot in the beginning about our anniversary, but we really do cover true crime. We do try to cover some paranormal stuff, some abandoned places, a lot of history, but we do have a lot of crime, because for some reason crime tends to follow a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Or are connected
They're
to
all
a lot of those
connected.
themes. So, but please, hit the subscribe button, join us on all our platforms. Gina knows all of them. Dun, dun, dun.
We're on Instagram and TikTok at 50 States of Madness. Our merch store is 50statesofmadness.bigcartel.com. We're on Patreon at patreon.com/50 States of Madness. And yeah, just thank you to everybody who supported us for these last 2 years. And,
Definitely.
everybody from, like, it doesn't matter if you belong to Patreon or if you bought our merch, just the
Or
fact
if you
that
just watch us
you're
every week.
subscribed and you watch and you comment. We appreciate you all, and we couldn't thank you guys enough. We never thought we'd be starting our 3rd year.
Yeah.
We're
looking forward
doing
to our
this.
3rd season.
Yeah. So thank you so
guys.
much, and we'll see you guys next week.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.